Hello, good evening, and welcome to the All Things Borough podcast with me, Alan, and Simon. Simon, good evening. How you doing?
Evening, mate. Yeah, very well. Thanks myself. I'm all good, mate. I'm in Exeter at the minute, working.
Work, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, happy days. Actually not rained down here for 2 days, which is quite. I've actually been able to get out for a run, which is nice. First time ever since I've been down. It always rains every day, but not this time. I've been a bit lucky. But yeah, it's all good. I don't know whether this is our first one of the season or a last one of last season. I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Probably a bit of mix of both, really. Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a catch up of
yeah,
last season, end of the season, and
yeah,
a little bit of what's going on for the new season.
yeah. We're
But
starting
you
starting
might
off
you
with a
might
bang.
notice
Huh?
though, Simon, as well. I'm in a completely new location myself. I've not left anywhere. I'm still at home, but
Yeah.
I've lost my recording room
I'm
due
not having
to
that, mate. I heard the missus shut you out, mate. So that's what I've heard. You're in the digs. In
no,
the digs.
no, I've lost my recording room because the eldest stepdaughter has come back from university and taken over the room. So
Happy
I'm
days.
now in my bedroom. But this is the cleanest part of my bedroom, I should
Of
say.
course. Okay, yeah. I don't want to ask what you're sitting on. But anyway, that's life. Anyway, moving on.
No,
Oh yeah,
uh,
we thought we'd start off the season with a bang now because we've got the Farnborough's numero uno Spencer Day on today. Evening, Spencer. How are things going? Hope you've enjoyed your
Good.
summer.
Yeah, good evening. Disappointed this time last year. We were sitting outside, but no chance this year. All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah. You know what? I was thinking the
yeah,
same thing actually. I did wonder
yeah.
if we might be on your balcony, but not this
no,
time.
no chance.
Been rubbish. I have to say I hate talking about the weather generally, but the weather down here has probably been better than it has in London. I think it's been pretty rubbish the last few days for you guys, but there we are. Yeah, did you getting away anywhere for holidays at all?
Not really. Been away briefly, but more work than holidays. Still trying to get a couple of quick trips in, but yeah, we'll see. I think the weather's due to change the next couple of days, but we'll see.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah, thankfully it is.
yeah,
It is. I'm
happy
getting a
days.
bit fed up of all this rain.
Good stuff.
But look, let's start off really first, Spencer, with last season. We'll kick it off with what happened last season. What are your thoughts now it's over? What are your thoughts on it, and on
Thank
how
God it's
you?
over. Thank God it's over. It's instantly forgettable, truly horrible. 95% of it I hated. It was really difficult for the team, the club, me personally. It was, look, I think if you've managed as long as I have, you'll get a season where literally everything you do, all the positivity we started the season with, the great signings, and by September you've got double broken legs and ACLs, MCLs, and recalls, and the team is decimated, and everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. So, feeling sorry for ourselves. Let's not, most importantly, forget the lads that were injured. They're terrible for them. And I suppose, in some respects, with the strength of the league, it was a great achievement to stay up from where we were. But it doesn't change the fact it was a truly horrible season. So, and to be fair, it almost went on the first few weeks of pre-season, which I'm sure you're going to touch on. It's just one of those that I just want to forget. And you've got to try and regroup. You've got to try and find your mojo. It's not easy. It's not even easy now on the whatever we are, the 10th, 11th of June. Halfway through the off season. So to get your excitement levels going back after what we went through, but that's what you've got to do. You've got to keep moving forward if that's the job, if that's what you want to do, if you want to stay in it as football, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think you're right, Spencer. When I look back to sort of Boxing Day and probably Hampton at home, and I sort of seriously thought that after that game we were rubbish. We got beat 2-0 at home, poor game, poor result, and I thought, oh God, we're going to go down. That was my feelings, and I thought, and that was at Boxing Day, and it was a real struggle up to that point. But I definitely think credit to yourself and credit to the guys that came in. I think we turned it around. I think, and we actually showed some pretty good form actually towards the end of the season. I thought obviously there was a few blips. Obviously the Tonbridge home game was a bad one, but then we turned. Then you have the next game at Tottenham away 6-1. Probably the highlight of the whole season really being the last match, isn't it?
I
So
think the form. I think we ended up third or fourth in the form table in the last
yeah,
couple of months, and that's what we needed to stay up, which is a great achievement. Look, I've said it many times, and anyone who sits through this bore themselves with what they're hearing from me again. But the reality is that football's about money, and we last year were probably third, fourth lowest budget in the league. Don't apologise for that. not going to apologise for bringing it up again. It is where we are. This year, I think we'll be second bottom in that league, and we'll talk about it in a minute. In budget wise, so even the fact that we survived was a great achievement. However, it wasn't the season we wanted. We flirted with the playoffs the 2 previous years. We're going to push hard again now. So much has happened since the end of last season, and continues to happen almost daily. But it's one of those that we got through. We should enjoy that we got through, enjoy the level we're playing, which is very exciting. Understand there's always going to be the moaners. There's always going to be the doubters. There's always people that are going to have it personally against me. I understand why. They want clickbait, some of the rubbish that gets written. But I just got to get on with that. That's sort of part and parcel of football. And if you're not winning, people get angry, and they've got reasons, and they say do this, say do that. But it's a fantastic football club, and we did survive, and we survived actually really well, and played some great football towards the end, and we've got to embrace that, and we've got to keep moving forward, and well, I'm sure we'll talk about it. We all know that Farnborough Football Club is completely for sale. Rob's made his position very clear. We need to move to the next level, but the directors have been brilliant over the summer. We'll come on to that, I'm sure. And we're looking forward to a positive season. As I said, if you've been doing this as long as I have, there's a time when things just go permanently wrong. And I remember not too far from this time last season, we were all buzzing with the signings we were making, but it fell apart. But we had some moments. Let's not forget, we were on was it the BBC for the FA Cup, last minute winner? Yeah. As you brought on the Tottenham games, we've had some other good games. I thought we were excellent at Torquay. We had moments, not as many as I'd like. But there are many teams that lost an absolute fortune, didn't go anywhere, or got relegated. So we have to look at it in perspective. And that's probably harder for me than most, because I just want to win football games. But it's done. Thank God it's done. And let's move forward.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Spence. I think I think it was a tale of sort of inconsistency really from us last season, wasn't it? And sort of good to decent performances one week and really poor the next, and no real consistency. And I think a changes that to be made. And as I said, you did the right thing in sort of probably getting rid of some of the name players possibly, and the ones that might have looked like when they might have been the ones that were going to drag us out, and we had to change it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've fans pay their money, they're entitled to their opinion, but you have to understand that sometimes when you put together a squad that you expect will be challenging well, and it gets decimated, sometimes those players aren't the right players for a fight. They are players that are used to being on top and dominating the ball and having chances, and they're not used to this type of fight. So when everything's going wrong, you have to sometimes assess that. And then we brought in a lot of youth that was fantastic, that were just there for the fight. And as I said, we achieved, really an amazing achievement. It's not criticism of players. It just was, it was just unbelievable. It was like almost week after week. Let's not forget some of the decisions that went against us, which happens in football. So, look, it was truly horrible. It wasn't what we planned. We're actually miles ahead of where I thought we would be right now in pre-season. I looked at a stat when I agreed to do this the other day, which I think was last Saturday. A third of the clubs in the division haven't named one new signing. Yet Rob's telling me that he's being moaned at on the forum. We've not named anybody yet. What about all the other teams? We are where we are financially. We have to wait. We have to negotiate. We have to talk players into coming to the club in a positive way, because we don't have the finances to do it in a financial way. And I'll get it out now. A lot of it will have been announced by this time goes out. We've signed 9 new players, 9. And they're being announced, each night at the moment, and they're really good players. And we kept 3 or 4, and we're in the middle. We're not even in the middle of June, so we're way ahead of where we should be. But we have to wait. The silly nonsense at the start of pre-season just was ridiculous. The amount of hours I've spent, actually, it's more than hours. Rob, Doms, the people speaking to players and trying to get players. I'm just blown away on the numbers. I mean, the numbers in this league, we talk about it every year, are just insane, but it's also exciting. It's exciting. It's a challenge. And what we're doing is keeping our head afloat, trying to upset people on the pitch, trying to be really nice off the pitch, which we've got a fantastic relationship with everybody really off the pitch. The way we look after people and the fans and the stadium and the volunteers and our supporters. And someone come along, I'm sure, and take this club to the next level at some point. So,
Yeah.
look, it's a tough world out there. It's a fantastic football club, and we're going to keep working really hard and keep trying to move forward.
Before we go on to move on to some of the things that are going on behind the scenes, in regards to, like, you touched on it there with when you said about, like, the numbers in this league are a bit insane, and every year they seem to be going up and up and up. Have you found each year, and including this coming season, that the club have had to adjust, like, your budgets to suit, or
Yeah, I mean,
and what kind of
if we're going to jump into that, so there's lots going on, which I'm sure you'll start to ask him. But jumping to one bit, there was a board meeting that actually had to happen at my house because of a parental situation, and the directors are putting in a six-figure sum to increase our budget, which I'm incredibly grateful for. It still leaves us right back at the bottom of the pile, but it's an incredible, genuine, honest bit of support. I think bluntly, because I'd sort of had enough, fighting these battles with the budget, and they've given me more money. Now I'm going to be a typical manager and go, with what the budgets have increased this off season and what clubs are paying, I don't think we've moved forward at all. But if we hadn't had that money, we would have been in even worse
yeah,
position.
yeah,
So all you can do is say so much grateful to Rob, to Eddie, to Alan, for finding this extra money, hard-earned money. Look, they're all successful guys, but they're not billionaires.
mm,
This is hard-earned cash, and we're all trying to keep the club moving. Me on the pitch, them off the pitch, in the right direction, and we are. The club's still growing. We had a tough year, and we survived. And the knocks we've had, including in this off-season. I mean, we should touch on it. I mean, some of it has been truly awful stuff. It shouldn't have happened. So we have got a bigger budget. It's still right at the bottom of the pile, and we have to fight tooth and nail. And yeah, I feel like it's worse because of what's happening. But at the moment, and why we've managed to sign these 9 players in the last 5 days, is that we're a fantastic club. They haven't got what they thought they were going to get. Barcelona and Man City didn't offer them. So eventually their agents have come to it. And a lot of them, and Rob's come back to me and he's met most of them. And he said, what fantastic guys. What brilliant, brilliant guys. And we'll come on to them in a minute. And we're going to have a great dressing room. I've no doubt about it. Look, we're going to need luck. We are. We need people to stay fit. We're still going to be one of the smallest squads. I deem that extra money to try and increase the squad size, because when you talk about inconsistencies, we're having to play the same players week in, week out, which is just not really feasible, especially now at this level. But look, we're in a good place. We're in a good place right now. I said that this time last year. I think we're ahead in our recruitment. We've got some key positions that we've still got to fill, and the hardest positions, bluntly, the attacking areas. But we've signed some fabulous players. And I'll tell you this, the players that have come in, they all wanted to come. They're buzzing, they're smiling, they're excited. They want to be part of this. They come to the ground and it's, wow, look at this. They brought
yeah,
families down. And, there's a lot to be said for that. And, we're going to do our very best again to certainly have a lot better season than last year. But as I said, there were lots of reasons for that. And, yeah, we'll be underdogs. So what? Let's embrace that. We've got this extra budget. But yeah, crikey, as a manager, I'm always going to ask for more. There's no question about it. But I'm
of
also in
course,
the
yeah,
real world. I've put money into football before myself. I'm aware of how hard this is. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
thinking on the signings as we're talking about them. I mean, Sam looks like a good signer right back. He was obviously Dartford's Player of the Year last season. Duncan is a young centre back. Looks keen and hungry. From obviously got Bristol City, so good experience there. Sam Barrett's obviously got experience in the Football League and at Barnet, Maidenhead as well, a couple of seasons, and also the most recent signing on the website as we talk is. Rachel Scott, who's got experience with Chelsea and Reading in his time. Are these sort of all signings that you've used your contact book and tried to get in, or have you asked other players about them and they've
Oh,
come
I
along?
definitely have asked other players about them. I mean, that is, as you guys know, due diligence is getting detail is one of my go-tos. So you speak to lots of people about players. I mean, I'll run through them quickly. Sam McKay obviously was Player of the Year, Manager's Player of the Year at Dartford. Really hungry to step up. He's got good experience. He's not that young now, and was desperate to come. As a right back, I want to try and have this year, if we can. It's very difficult. Competition in every place, in every single position. So they've got to understand they've got to perform well, but we need to be a squad where they support each other in that competition, because we're going to have injuries, suspensions. We also need to be used as squads. So we're trying to have 2 players in each position, or if we need playing a back 3, we want to have 5 centre halves, as a prime example. So as we're speaking on Thursday night, and I'm aware that there's 3 more signings being announced tomorrow. We've also signed Ryan Jackson, who's a right back, right wing back, can also play right centre half if he had to, who's obviously got promoted with Sutton into the Football League, very, very experienced. So we've got the youth and experience there for competition there, and what a pro he is. We've also signed, as you say, Duncan Idahen, who's earned his right to step up incredibly quick. And he's had loans at Yeovil, so I spoke to Mark Cooper. He's had a great season at step 3. He's left-footed, so he can also play cover at left back if needed. And look, it's going to be a challenge for him to step up, but it's an exciting challenge. I can't announce who the very experienced centre half that we signed actually over a month ago, mainly because he's in the new kit. We've got to wait for the new kit launch. Otherwise, you're going to see who it is. But I can assure you, he's as experienced as it gets at this level. Local guy, proper leader. Not had the greatest year last year with injuries, but he's local and we've looked after him and he's looked after us on the terms of the deal, but a real leader, signed and sealed. Can't wait to come. Another massive signing for us that will be announced very soon as the kit launch goes in. Sam Barrett, as you say, can play left wing back, left wing, right wing, cutting in, second striker, local, massive throw, experience, lovely guy. Really thrilled with that. I can say that Rashan Scott was so sought after, but I spoke to him on the phone and he said, Gaffer, I'm sort of in. I don't need to speak to anybody else. And it was a lovely thing. And we met all his family. They came down and he's going to excite people. He can play 10 winger. He's got great pace. I know people joke about it. He's got a lovely smile. He's got a great family that all came down. And, we're so excited to have him. He's going to get bums on seats and people buzzing. It's not been announced yet, but by the time this goes out, we've signed an absolute mass. The centre midfield is phenomenal. Obviously, we've kept Rennie, but we've signed Tom Lapsey, who is, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to. I think he's our new Ricky. What a guy. He's a leader. He's going to be a good coach one day. He wants to be a player, let's be clear. He's, again, had injuries, but what a pivot we've got in there, whether you play him as the 4 or the 8. He's got so much energy. He's only 31. Was really keen to come. Ricky was a massive part of that signing. He spoke to him, we spoke to him, Ricky, and it was like, what a player he is, what a guy, going to be so popular around the ground. I can also say we've signed Josh Keir, from Salisbury, another fantastically energetic and younger, great legs, great technical, on our doorstep. We've got to pay a little bit of compensation for him because he's under 24, but he's got experience now at this level. He's had 2 good years at Hampton and Salisbury, so we've got great energy in the middle of the park and technical ability with Josh, with Tom Lapsey, with Rennie. Then we've got potentially a 10 in Rashwan, and we've got obviously Sam Barrett, as we said. So we've got, that's 8 lads that we will have announced, I think this week. 8 lads. We've signed a left back that, depending when this goes out, has been at step 3. Again, younger, but has earned his right. Really energetic. Been thoroughly recommended to me. We've checked him out. Desperate to come. Real legs, energy, pace. So hungry. So we'll end up with 2 left backs in that area as well. So we've signed one of those. And we're working. We're going to take a loan keeper probably this year. Again, we're definitely speaking still to Bristol City. There's no question about that. But we've got to get through early parts of pre-season. Most of these keepers are needed for the early part of pre-season by their pro clubs. We'd like to get Joe, but we're speaking, there are so many loan keepers, very high quality ones available. We're speaking to 2 other clubs who are very, very keen to let us have these players. We'll probably look at one other loan from a pro club. So the recruitment is going great when you think we still got Mason. Do we need another striker? Do we need another winger striker? Absolutely. Do we need potentially another number 10? But centre midfield, we're very strong. Centre halves, we may even look at one more centre half. The goalkeeping situation, as I said, we're dealing with. We've got left backs, right backs. We've got a really good balance already. And as I said, we're not even middle of June yet. So we're actually miles ahead with people criticising.
Yeah, you are actually. Yeah, I'm
You know,
normally
we're in, and
following.
there will always be people criticise trialists, and I like to keep trialists low, but think of rightly, we had Rennie Smith and a certain Hakeem Sander last year as trialists. They weren't bad, were they? So,
Yeah.
we will look at a few. We do need some numbers pre-season because we need to manage the players with their minutes. Most of the time they'll only do 45 minutes each in the opening game. Certainly the more midfield attacking players. Young Connor Harris is away in America at the moment, but we've retained him. We're hoping he's going to come back, but depending on what happens in America, he might be quite late. So that's a situation that's quite fluid. So we've got a really good group of young and old there, being blunt. Experience leaders. Yeah, there's a few risks, and there's always risks. There's risks on a 35-year-old, and there's risks on an 18-year-old. Sadly, injuries happen. But we try and get the recruitment right. We will always look at the younger players we think we can also end up selling on. There's no doubt about it. I think Rashwan Scott is playing miles below his level. And we're speaking to a couple of other very exciting forwards that we think if they can go and get 30, 40 games for us, they can go and get deals moving higher. And that's the pool we have to be in. We can't be at the silly numbers that lots of these clubs. And look, I think I said earlier, I've spoken to so many players, and the obvious ones, of course, I spoke to Reggie Young, and we made him a phenomenal deal and got blown out of the water. And that's just jealousy. Good luck to him. Love him to death. But we got, so many players that you can imagine. Some of the lads that we didn't push on for from that left us because there are different circumstances. Some of the lads were having their wages paid by other clubs, and we couldn't possibly justify spending that on them. And we've got to be honest, we didn't have a good season last year. We were good on the entertainment. I think we were second bottom of goals against and about 8th, 9th on goals scored. So you certainly got entertainment. You certainly got goals at this place. So I'd like it to be a little bit better this year from the attack against the defence ratio. But, it's so hard. It's a horrible time of year. But I'm really pleased with the recruitment. But we're going to need that luck. We're going to need to gel, which is always the difficult part when it's pretty much a complete rebuild. But I think when you step back, when this video goes out and look at the quality and the mix of youth and experience, which is a cliche, I think that's really good. And we're giving lads chances to step up, but we've done a lot of analysis on them. We've spoken to people. We've got lads perhaps that have not had great years because of injuries, that fingers crossed, but we protect the club. We've got lads that have got options for the second years. We made another offer to Rax, but it wasn't enough. But again, a great guy. Love him to death, but the neighbours wanted him, and good luck to him. Obviously, the Cooley situation, I'm personally in clubs desperately disappointed at that decision. Probably is enough said on that, but he wish him and his family all the very, very best. It hurts, that one, but is what it is. Everyone's got to stand on their own decisions. But the reality is we wouldn't be giving him a contract there and then because we just thought it was coming in pre-season. He hasn't kicked a ball yet. Will he kick a ball? We hope he does. Of course we do, and wish him best with his wedding and everything else. I can say, if it hasn't been announced yet, we've sold Jack Turner to Sholing. We wish him all the very, very best. Look, I want us to absolutely focus on how brilliant Jack has been while he's been with us. Things come to an end. And look, the ending wasn't great, but that is a pinprick in what a fantastic time and person and his family have been with us. We got a great fee, and rightfully so, because we gave him a long-term contract, and that's what we should get. And, we wish him every success. I said, I want to focus on all the good times, the promotions, etc. And it was very difficult for Jack this time last year. He lost a lot of his friends. And we struggled as a team, and you can see, I've spoken to another goalkeeper at another club that will remain nameless, and he had exactly the same situation. He felt that the other players weren't hungry enough, weren't good enough, and and he'd been there a long time. So I've got sympathy for it. But as I said, a massive, massive thank you to Jack, and wish him all the best down at Sholing with Doz. He's been a gentleman, of course, and Doz and Rob did the deal, and it's done and dusted. And as I said, we wish him every success, and don't be surprised if he gets a third promotion down there with Doz and Sholing. So wish them all the best. As I said, it comes to us all in the end that we all move on, and that'd be me and everyone else has said that nearly happened this year. So we shall see.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for doing that. You took the words out of my mouth there with Jack, where I was going to ask about him, because obviously he's as eagle-eyed amongst us. Probably saw he's still on the club website as number one, but obviously that'll be changing soon. So yeah, thanks for the update, Spencer, on those. Is there any obviously we've talked about the new signings. I almost feel bad for not talking about the retained ones. People like Mason and Remy. Obviously Robbo is back for another year. And I'm forgetting someone. And Connor Harris as well. Obviously was out on loan at Bracknell and did very well down there as well. So yeah, it's good that we've got a very small core of players back next year, which is something, I suppose. But yeah, like I said, a lot of fans also were looking at obviously the Reggie Young situation and thinking, oh, why couldn't we buy him? And obviously you've covered that. So yeah, it is what it is, isn't it?
We tried. Oh my word, did we try? And Rob. Absolutely. And again, the directors, and let's talk about Hakeem. I don't mind admitting the club offered Hakeem the highest ever wage that's ever been offered, I'd imagine, to a Farnborough player ever by some distance. We would, a couple of the directors were willing to pay for him himself. But he's taken less money to step the next level, and we just wish him success. We were trying to sign him on a contract since about November, and he didn't want to do one, which is his right. Of course we wanted him on a contract. Try and make money out as we push these players up. But what a great guy, and his family. And do you know what? It's a bit of a problem for a few Aldershot fans because I get on really well with Scotty. So no problem with it at all. And, I think sometimes you've got to look at the fact we didn't have a great season. Still, a lot of our players have been picked off by higher clubs. And, that shows that we, even in a difficult season, have had an element of success. And we wish Hakeem all the very success at over there. And, I feel that in a difficult world, good relationships with Aldershot, Farnham, Woking, Bagshot League, all these, I think they're important. Unfortunately, none of us are big enough to have massively difficult rivalries. Some clubs might want to create those rivalries. Well, good luck to them. We're not getting involved. Crack on with it. You can talk nonsense. We're not going to stand up and tweet horrible things about clubs and the rest of it. It's just not going to happen. So, we like to think, we're a bit better than that. We've been around a long time. We're very stable, and we will enjoy playing all these clubs, and we want to have good relationships with them. And that's obviously where with this Army Cup that's been arranged now with Aldershot, which we think is going to be an annual event. And that's very exciting because bluntly, we can't afford to be having a go at each other. We need to be supporting each other and pushing each other forward and trying to build things in the community and in a tough world.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think what you're touching on there. Sorry, Simon. I think you're right in what you're saying there. You Farnborough, Aldershot, Farnham, and all these clubs, they all have a really good relationship with each other. The rivalry kind of side of things, really and truly, comes from the fans, and what goes on outside of the pitch, or even on the sidelines. You know what I mean? So, but we can recognise that because Aldershot have been really good to us as a club. They've helped us out in the past. With certain things and loan players and stuff like that. So, like you said, there's no real rivalry between the clubs themselves. It's what goes on underneath them. It's the fans really that
well, there's always going to be the Aldershot thing. I mean, look, the Aldershot thing with me is always going to be there. But you've got to get in the real world here. I think the incident when I was at Aldershot is now 35, 36, 37 years ago. Probably more than most of their fan base wasn't even born. It's I've already been back to Aldershot in a competitive game. Just to remind you, we won. Scotty didn't want this friendly, and I know there's been a bit of abuse going, but they don't know what they're talking about. Nothing. I didn't do anything wrong with Aldershot. It was all documented. It was all in the non-league paper. The courts spoke about it, and I'm talking about the civil courts at Reading. I lost money to Aldershot. Don't want to speak ill of the dead, but it was all put in black and white. It's all there. It's all in the papers. People forget all of that and just want to think, oh, it's my fault. Sorry, look, I was a kid. I was 19 years old. I'm not saying it's blameless, but I had nothing wrong done at Aldershot. And, what happened years later is a different matter. But, at the end of the day, we've also supported Aldershot. Rob has an incredible relationship with the council. It's clubs have to work together. We're not in the same division. We're working hard. I think their owner's made it clear he wants to sell. He's taken over to save the club and is doing an incredible job. Works really hard for him. He's doing his absolute best, put his money where his mouth is. That's fantastic. Scotty's a great guy. He's a friend of mine. Wish him all the success. I seem to be picking half his team at the moment. He keeps just coming along. He's just nicked one of my coaches. I said, you guys need to be careful. They'll be in for us, and that means we're doing something right. So, it's a tough world. And Farnham, look, what a run they're on. What a great success story they're having. The owner again has been very successful. He's spending a ton of money. He's building this, building that, signing players, this, that, and the other. He's doing it his way. Good luck to him. We're not going to get into a talking slagging match. He wants to dick at players and pay this and pay that. Good luck to him. That's his call. Greatest respect. Look at our stadium and everything else, and the strength of us and everything else. And they can do what they want to do. We've got to look after ourselves. We'll be respectful. We'll try and win games on the football pitch, and we'll try and do things the right way. And we're not going to apologise for doing that. The Aldershot Army game, it's fantastic. I think they're hoping for 4,000 or 5,000 people. I think the Army forces are everyone's in for £1, and the deal is that will be reversed next year. They'll be coming to us. That's the agreement between the owners, Rob and Dean. I think it's a great opportunity to build stuff with clubs. And if there's a few idiots that want to have a go for stuff they don't know about, then that's 35, 36 years ago. Good luck. They've obviously never done anything wrong in their lives. I'm not saying anything went wrong then at that time. I hope it's a good occasion. Scotty and I said we're going to have a right laugh. It's a pre-season game. We get them in the FA Cup second round. That might be a bit different. But let's all hope that is the case. Let's hope that is the case. So, we've got to try. I keep saying, in this world, smile. It's a key word of mine. And it's not been easy this last year, and it's not been easy this pre-season, but we've signed some great players. The club's in a fantastic place. Yes, the club needs to be sold, in my view. We need to move forward. We need, whether it's new investment or development, or new owners, that needs to happen, because we are treading water. Said it at a forum, whatever it was, a year ago, 2 years ago, I can't remember. We can't keep upsetting the apple cart, which we do, even in a bad year. But in the meantime, what a great community club! All the things that happen, the things that are going on off the pitch, on the pitch, women's teams, kids teams, the sponsors, the fans, the volunteers, absolutely amazing. So almost be grateful where you are. You've seen clubs that we've passed by in the last few years, in the last decade, and you go, wow. And you see clubs that have been relegated, over £1 million budgets, and we're going, wow, look at this. So sometimes you've got to say, actually, and I had to do this, you have to step back sometimes and go, okay, it's been horrible. I've hated so much of it this last year, really, including some of this off season. And it's been hard. It's been really, really hard. And that's why, there were doubts, and the directors were brilliant. They came to me and they were like, what do you want to do? And this, that, and the other. And I said, look, it's really hard. It was really hard to decide what to do, because it was a real low, and I haven't completely come out of that yet. But we will do. And signing such good players and seeing such happy players that want to be there and fight for the club, and seeing good people and the work that people like Dom and you guys are doing, and the ground staff and Rob and all the owners and people down there and the pools and everything, they're all buzzing again. And, that buzz will hopefully come back early pre-season. Certainly the first week of pre-season is a horror show. But after we get through that, then, look at the pre-season friendlies. Portsmouth and Reading, full first teams. Aldershot away in the Army Cup. What 3 games are, with the greatest respect to the others. Bath at home, perfect game before we start the season. They've got some very good players and a good manager. So, really exciting pre-season, and if the weather would hurry up and improve just a little bit, although Rob loves it because it's water on the pitch without having to pay a water bill. The pitch looking amazing. We'll all get our mojo back and go again.
Yeah, we have definitely got some really good friendlies coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of those. Hopefully, if I'm not working away. But yeah, just touching on that stuff, some other stuff off the field that I wanted to discuss was starting with a lot of clubs are now sort of going to a hybrid system or way of working. Is that in the plans for this current season, or next? Is there anything you update the fans on? And also, was that a factor in Cooley leaving? Was it because he couldn't do the training, or was it just purely down to money?
No, I'm not having any of that. Look, everyone, I say this every year, players and coaches, and sometimes managers, including me this summer, because it came out. I had a big, long 2.5 hour interview with someone else, and I very, very well, I was going to go, and the reality to it is that things have gone on off the pitch, which I'm going to touch on from my perspective, but it's not really for me to tell. So I believe that one of the directors is going to do an interview about where we are. But we need to move forward into hybrid. We need to move forward into full time. And all of that was set up at the end of the season when what was going on was going on. But because it's taking longer, then we have to be honest with the players and with management what we're doing. So we're part-time. We're going to do 2 sessions a year. We do 2 sessions normally until October, and then go to 1 again to save money. This year we're doing the full 2 all the way through at Cobham, which is a great facility, and very grateful to everybody down there. And we'll see what happens, but we absolutely have to move to hybrid to full time. It's I mean, you have to say Hornchurch managed to get promoted on the part-time model, and all credits to them on that. But the vast majority are moving forward, and we either move forward or we get left behind. But at the moment, we are where we are. Some of the players have got clauses in their contracts if we move to hybrid this season, which I think is all up in the air. It's certainly not going to happen in the early part of the season. But things change in football very, very quickly. As I said, the club's for sale. Somebody else might come in and want to take it, and we'll go. But yeah, we do need to keep moving forward, or we're just going to get left behind.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same with the budgets, isn't it? As well, you have to keep it all. Obviously, it's like every year you've got to plow more and more money in just to sort of stay where you are, haven't you, in the league?
Yeah,
And
you do, and so that's why I'm so grateful to the owners, because it's really hard. We don't really want to have 6 loans at the club, 5 on the team sheet. But we will still take some loans, no question about it. Particularly, obviously, the goalkeeping thing we've talked about. I have to balance those books. I have to fight. I always say to a player, when you come to us, you'll be getting much lower money you get elsewhere, but we think we're a package. The stadium is a massive factor. The grass pitch, where we train, Cobham, is great. I think us as a management team, as a football club, to most is attractive. Sadly, some players just will take the money, and I've got never any criticism for that. They've got mortgages, kids. You have to understand these things. Some lads are more focused. I want to play, and they'll go, I've got more chance of playing, and the manager's got a track record of pushing these players back up the leagues. And look, that's what's happened with players. So, it's a balancing act, and that's why we have to wait. Sometimes there's no point announcing players, so officially we can't put the contracts in anyway. So we get to that, we're announcing players, and it's happened to us a couple of times that they then change their mind, and you look at a bunch of idiots. So we're not ones that are all going to be jumping around, but as I said, we're going to be the middle of June, and we've announced 9 great new signings. Another that's been done, but it's a delay on kit, and 3 or 4 that were retained. So I think we're doing pretty well. People will criticize always in football. There's always something someone's not happy with. But I had a look the other day on the Twitter. I'm not on social media, and there was comments about sponsors and thing about kits and this event and that event. What the people do behind the scenes at Farnborough is amazing, and I think it's very harsh. Dom is absolutely, this Saturday, the amount of work he's doing at the club, he's doing kit launches, player interviews, more sign. It's relentless, and he does have a job as well, and this is it. There's no one getting paid there. So, doing fantastic job, everyone involved. So it's a huge group effort. And, it's hard sometimes when you hear, and Rob said, oh my God, someone's having a go. We haven't announced anyone yet. It's like the first week in bloody June. A third of the clubs haven't announced anyone. I think Dover did their first one about the day after I mentioned it. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. That's where we are. If you signing players early, bluntly, I would say in my experience, you probably overpaid. And we're not in a position to do that. And that's not everyone. Some players will go places because they're, they've got a link to it. But a lot of these early signings, we just couldn't compete with. Rob spent 4 hours with the player 2 weeks ago, and he called me, and I was away, and he said, look, I think we've got a good chance. He's such a lovely guy. And he got 40% more the next day and was gone. So the hours he's put in, it's staggering. So yeah, it's a group effort.
Yeah, it is hard, isn't it? I just think you're right. I think we're ahead of where I thought we'd be, to be fair. And that's obviously in the last few days. That's all sort of kicked into gear. And there's always, as you say, there's always fans that look at other clubs and what they're doing and compare it to us and think, oh, we're miles behind. We aren't doing this, aren't doing that. But it's like you say, you got to time you got to time it correctly. And as you say, you go too early, you end up overpaying, and you end up with probably not the player you want either. So sometimes it's not what you do. Just Obviously, you touched on off the pitch stuff. Obviously, you mentioned the takeover a few times and the club's up for sale. Is there anything in particular you can talk about on that at the moment? 'Cause obviously, it's something the fans are interested in.
It's not, obviously, it's been mentioned. I've mentioned it once or twice. Look, the statement went out. Rob, feels he's taken us pretty much as far as we can on his own with the other directors. I think it's fair to say that he's done a deal with someone. He tells me I've had no contact with them whatsoever, no emails, no nothing. All I was asked to do was give budgets. He's done a deal which he says was a rubbish deal for him, but a great deal for the club. So he took a lot less than he was going to because he felt it was for the right interest of the club. It's almost the dream deal for the club, and it was going at a rocket speed. And I was running around for Rob, giving budgets and how we were going to go to hybrid full time almost immediately, and all the costs and everything. And they had restrictions. They wanted certain people, me, to stay for a minimum of a year, and but obviously get restrictions. And there's never been any restrictions to my knowledge that Rob has put on. If someone better can come along and own the club than him, he will walk. I certainly wouldn't be putting restrictions. I'm not worried about getting a job. Sorry, with my track record, I'm not worried about it at all. There's none of that is in the way of the right buyer taking the club forward. Obviously, I wanted to stay with what was being proposed. I think it's fair to say it's stalled. They've asked for there's a delay. I will say it's Middle Eastern. A lot of these clubs are selling at the moment. There's huge value in these clubs, huge value. It's just gone mental, as you can see. And South Shields was the latest last week. And so many clubs are changing hands. And Rob wants to make sure it's the right people. He was happy-ish with the deal. The deal might still happen. It's not going to happen, in my opinion, in the next few weeks. I was given an update today. They're still very much there, but it's down to them to bluntly sign the forms and do the deal. It was a staggered deal, I understand, that would go over a few years, and they would have control, and they wanted great things, and we were all very excited, briefly, but whether it's going to happen, I don't know. But they are who they say they are. It's in lawyers' hands, but these things can take time, and probably I'm over speaking, and it's right that one of the directors updates what it is, but I can certainly say Rob has made it clear that doesn't stop other people coming in now, and whether it's investment or to buy the club, we need to keep moving forward. Nobody is standing in the way. There's no nonsense about, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, or the manager's got to stay, or the owner's got to stay. Absolute rubbish. No one's worried about ourselves, because it will be the best for everybody if the right person comes along. But obviously, you attract a couple of idiots who haven't got a clue. And that's down to Rob and the directors, but they've got other plans in place. Other things are still going on there. I was shown a document the other day. Still, a 4G proposal is still going along. I said that's so complicated now with the level that we're at. There's a small development thing which could put in new classrooms and things that was shown across my door a couple of months back at the dinner we had, the sort of the unofficial board meeting where we talked about me staying, going, whatever, and all the rest of it. And there are lots of things going on. Nobody is standing still. I think there's paddle court description going on. We have to keep moving on and off the pitch. My job's on the pitch, until something better comes along. And in the same breath, I almost then just forget about it. It's nothing to do with me. I'm doing my job, getting the team right, and we've got to try and have a better season, and see where it takes us.
Yeah, thanks for that. But I appreciate your candidness there, and I know there's certain things you don't know, or you can't say. So yeah, that's fine, and we'll look forward to hearing from the directors in a few weeks' time, and when their updates there. And we'll see how we are. I just wanted to touch upon going away from Farnborough as a club and all the other bits. I'm probably sure you're fed up talking about it. What's your first of all, you're looking forward to the World Cup? Starts today as we record. We've been watching all the games,
I
staying up till 5 in the morning.
I watched the first half of England last night. Do you mind? I'm only an England fan. I'm not one of these guys. I watch so much football and obviously so much football involvement. Quite frankly, sitting there and watching
Yeah.
Azerbaijan versus Bolivia has got about as much. Sorry, not interested. Until the very, very end. So clearly, I'm a massive England fan. Very supportive of that. I'm an absolute when it comes to those type of things. But can I get excited about it? Not quite yet. As I said, I'm so focused on what I'm doing on the football. Besides, unless it's Nottingham Forest, obviously my love and watching them, and I was watching a guy. I try and, as I said, I'm not really on social media, but there's a guy probably vaguely similar to what you guys do. There's a guy called Wolfie for Forest. If anyone needs a laugh, he's the most brilliant. He does the games live, and in some of my tough times this year, I've watched him as an absolute mental Forest fan. Watching him has always brought tears to my eyes. He's so funny the way he speaks and the games and everything, and he's very honest, and it's hilarious. And you see how much care and love goes into these games. But if it's not Forest and England, then I'm afraid I've just got to focus on my team, Farnborough, at the moment. And the World Cup can wait, and fingers crossed England go well. It'd be nice, wouldn't it, in our lifetime? I'm mid-50s now. I think it's going to be tough. I hope my boy Anderson has another good one. We can stick another 10, 20 million on his transfer fee because he's clearly going. But,
is he still your boy, Spencer? I think he might be off
oh, he's gone. He's
yeah.
gone. It's just the legend that is Marinakis, the Forest owner. What a star he is. He's dead right, holding his ground. So all credit. I've still got great links at Forest from when I was there. So I absolutely love the place to death. So look, World Cup's the World Cup. Look forward to it, but really focused elsewhere at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. Just on Mariakis, do you think it's someone you could work under?
Oh my God, he and I would get on so well because there's a few people, because I'm lucky enough that I can speak freely to most, and it's I mean, obviously he rules with an iron fist and full support to that, and I've got so much respect for what he's done, and people that put money into football, and he's had a very difficult season. It's a bit like Farnborough in a way. They had a great season the year before. I was absolutely gutted. I was ready to jump on the plane to Turkey for the final, but I did fear for us against Villa. It was a very sad night. But we survived in the Premier League, and we survived in our league, and it was. I still think one of the highlights of my day. I can't remember where we were, and I came off the ground, and I'm sure most of you know Rob is an avid Liverpool fan, and he said, "Have you heard the Liverpool Forest fan?" I think I can't remember if we'd won or lost. I think we probably lost actually. And he said, "You've just won 3-0 at Anfield." I went, "You are whatchamacallit me." I was just suddenly so happy. So, it's a big thing for me.
Yeah, I've spent a bit of time in Nottingham myself for work, and it's a really good city actually. I haven't been to Forest sadly myself, but I've been to County over the road a few times. Probably dirty
It's
word.
a tough one. I had a fantastic day when we had another promotion when Farnborough won at Hayes and Yelling. That was a great day. But
yeah, I remember that.
Still think I was at Wembley for Forest in the promotion playoff final, and that still had tears. I had my sons there with me, and it was absolutely amazing because the time I've been there before was against Tottenham in the FA Cup, which was one of the most depressing days of my life. So it was great to go there and be in the middle of the Forest fans. It was absolutely brilliant day.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah,
except I had Sam Deering. I had Sam Deering with us and everything, so I think he drunk us out of house and home. So Wembley needed a new bar, so we had a few of them there. But yeah.
Yeah, Sam, he's still going in. I think he might just retired actually. I think just now.
And his next visit at Wembley was on the pitch. Well,
yeah,
great.
that's right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, brilliant, effervescent Sam Deering. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Right, anything you got to add, Alan?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything there, Spencer.
Yeah. To the next crisis.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To the next one.
See you in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
It's been a bit of a shocker, really. We're only in the middle of June, and we've sort of got about 14 squad already. Clearly, I don't want to be too early on the squad because there's always somebody that comes out or can't get a deal, and we're talking to some great players, but we're having to wait. Clearly, the attacking areas is something we've definitely got more to do on. Got great pre-season planned with the games we've talked about. Massively challenging league, great clubs in it. I mean, you look what's happening, and Lee at Dagenham, what a great job he's got there with all the KSI and all that. And massive clubs like Torquay, and obviously Farnham coming up, Walton coming up, and and that's before you talk about my mate Mark at Dorking, and there's so many great clubs. And as I said, it's a great exciting place to be. And you want to say to our fans that look where we've come in the last sort of 10, 12 years. There are down times. There will always be down times. As I said, I've had really horrible year. We can't be great every year. We didn't get luck this year, but we want everyone to enjoy their summer, to be excited by these signings. And I think we've got a great balance. They won't all work, there's no question. And people go, oh, you've got rid of a couple of them. Yeah, dead right. If a couple of them can't do it, you're right. I'll be ruthless. There's no question about it. And you look at a lot of these lads and you go, how well have they done when they've left us? And that means you got the recruitment wrong at the start. But we always have to take some elements of risk. That's what I have to do. But we've got a really good group. I said we need that luck. I need the fans to stick with us, to buy season tickets, keep supporting us, bringing in other people. So crucial. Fantastic. It was so good that last day of the season. I think the Tunbridge game was a little bit after the sort of Lord Mayor's show because we'd survived. Even that I'm still fuming about now that we decided not to bother turning up, having been so good, I would add, for the first 15 minutes. But then bizarrely, football, what a world it is. The following week you go down to Tottenham, we've got pretty much one of the best home records in the league, and absolutely smashed them the other way. So it's bizarre. We wish the players that have left us all the success in the world. We really do. It's Michael Strickland, what a player he is going to. I've said to Scotty, I said, you don't know how good a player he is. I mean, wow. The Jacks that have left us after the years, and the lads that some of them we didn't offer deals to because we didn't think it was right for us, and we've got to be ruthless. But with fingers crossed, and I'm pretty confident we're going to put a fantastic group of players in Borough shirts starting in pre-season into the season, and fingers crossed everyone can stay happy, stay fit and healthy, and we can have a good year.
Yeah, well, I think dead right. Well, I'm certainly hopeful. Well, I'm no more hopeful this week than I was last week. But
we're always hopeful, Simon. We're always hopeful.
Yeah, always try to be positive. Yeah,
you'd be bored. You'd be bored if we signed people in the first week. It's like it would be boring. So we're already going to struggle now because wait for it, we're going to have 14 players pretty much by the time this interview comes out. My God, we're not going to be able to announce many more signings, fellas. Everyone's going to go, what are we doing? There will be a few trialists, yes. I think the trialists have got an awful lot to do to get in, an awful lot to do. But there'll be people that will come out of the woodwork, last minute signings, loans. But as I said, it's surprisingly, if you'd spoken to Rob and me a couple of weeks ago, we're like going, my God, are we going to get a five-a-side team out here? Because every player we were going for, it's cross him off the list. And just really, really pleased. So I said, I think the fans now will see a really good group already. And if we can add that few more, get a bit of luck, gel well, got great coaching staff, got Millers, Woody, Nick, we got the physios, Louis and the backroom staff, Paul has been absolutely amazing. Dom, my God, I just can't give him enough praise. The guys yourselves, the radio guys, the spa staff, there's the secretaries that do all that. Jim and everything. There's so much, and that's before you talk about the owners of parting hard cash. It's a fabulous group, and as I said, I think we just got to step back sometimes, me included, and go, okay, it wasn't great last year, but we still had some moments. We still had some good moments, and let's go again and keep our fingers crossed that we can have a good season.
Yeah, it's always a thing about football, isn't it? When the season starts, everyone's at the same point zero. So you just got to start again, haven't you, and go from there.
And let's hope we're not Torquay away first day then, or someone else, or I think the reality is we'll probably be Farnham for the double header. I would have thought, which is great for both clubs. Again, great for both clubs.
Yeah.
there's so much stuff. I know you probably hear some of the rumors that goes on behind the scenes, some bad stuff as well. We have to fight, with players and stuff that we're trying to help players with and stuff that players, isn't good that happened last year. And, that's what happens when you're winning. It's all easy, bluntly. And when it's a struggle, it's always harder. You don't get the luck, you get arguments. Everyone thinks they know better. But as I said, when you look at the money table, we overachieved last year, and it's another exciting look. Folkestone have come in, and wow, look at the signings they've made, and there's some great exciting stuff. Truro coming back down, they've said they're keeping the same budget and full time. It's great exciting place for the Farnborough fans and the community, and we've just got to keep moving forward, even if it's small steps. And I think we're actually moving in decent steps. And as I said, at some point, someone's going to come along and go, this is the most incredible opportunity with our stadium. I mean, this club really is absolutely ready for the Football League. I mean, it amazes me that it hasn't gone many times over. And it's not due to a want of trying. I can tell you, Rob's got it on with all agents and tries, and it's not he's turning things down. No chance. He's been an amazing custodian of this club and so supportive. So, when the right thing happens, and when that will be, we'll all deal with it, whether I stay, go, whatever. And they did a great job on me because I was so low after the season. And, when I was speaking to another club and they're offering me this, that, and the other, and it was exciting, I have to be honest. But then obviously with a potential takeover and an increased budget, and they bought me a kebab, it worked me over. So good on them. So, but even now it's tough. But as I said, if we can all keep smiling, we'll stay in a good place.
Yeah, the kebab's definitely the way forward for me as well, Spencer, to be fair.
It wasn't actually very nice. I'm sorry, Alan, you ordered them. It wasn't very nice, but I couldn't admit that on camera.
Yeah.
I should have had the pizza.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with pizza, definitely. But I'll keep my ears and eyes open for some private jets landing at Farnborough Airport in the near future.
Wouldn't it be lovely? Wouldn't it? I mean, I said it is. I mean, I think one of the directors said at the end of season awards, best players. It really should happen at some point, and I hope it happens with the people that are talking. But football is difficult. We've got to remember the Middle East at the moment is in a very difficult place, sadly, and prayers have got to go with them with what's going on over there. So you can understand these things. As I said, a huge amount of due diligence has been done. It's all been agreed. It's just you got to push it over the line. And from a manager's perspective, I was obviously buzzing. Yes, there would have been huge demands on me, but there's huge demands on me now. These owners, and they're putting in their hard cash. They're not just going, there you go. If they're not happy if things are going wrong, they're not happy if players aren't doing it. We're all working really, really hard. So we'll see.
Perfect. Right, Spencer. Yeah, don't go away, but we're gonna finish it off there. Thanks for coming on tonight and giving us all these details and everything. All this, we're looking forward to seeing these new players in action over the coming weeks and months of the season, and we're also looking forward to see who else we can bring in as well.
So am I. If you can speak to a few of their agents, my God. I've had a few. There's only a couple of agents I can't deal with, and I won't deal with. But most of them are really good. But there's one or two. Wow, God, dear, one in particular just shouldn't be an agent. It's disgrace. But it's hard work. It's the world at the moment. It's all about money. Unfortunately, it's all about money. It really all comes down to the same thing most of the time. But there we go.
Me and Alan have often had a chat about this. We're in the wrong industry, podcasting. We should have done it. Player agents. That's what we should have done.
Yeah. You tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Anyway, appreciate your time as always, Spencer. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to the Christmas episode already. Can't wait. And we'll catch up again probably in the Platinum Lounge at some point. I should think during pre-season, hopefully.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, thanks for your time again. Appreciate it.
Right, that leaves me to say thanks for everybody for watching us tonight. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back soon with another episode. See you all soon.